Hello, my love, and welcome back. Today, I want to speak to the number one biggest block that I see holding people back from their purpose and from the bigness of what they're here to create in the world. And this comes from 6 years of coaching, hundreds of clients, thousands of sessions, and also just random conversations I've had with people, as I have a natural tendency to attract people into my field who share about their struggles and their desires and where they're currently hung up. And there's always a really common theme along the board or across the board with this. And I want to share what that number one struggle is, and also the ways that I personally have used different tools and methods to work through it, where I'm still actively working through it because I'm still a work in progress and the evolution is continuous. But really just diving into what that looks like. So the biggest thing, and before I even get into it, I invite you to just really feel and sit with yourself as you're watching this or listening to this, and really feel into where this might be playing out for you, and allowing yourself to be radically honest. Because I would say most often we don't realize that this is part of it. If anything, we typically tend to project the blame outwards instead of realizing that there's actually a very core part that is coming from within. So the easiest thing that I think we do as human beings is we find something to blame. And typically that is something outside of us. It's like, my parents aren't supporting, or the economy is XYZ, or I grew up in a certain country so I had less advantage, or this thing is holding me back, or I'm paying off a bunch of student debt so I can't go all in on my purpose and my biggest passion right now. And I want to acknowledge that all of those things are valid, 100%. That has truth to it. And there are advantages and disadvantages based on your current situation. So by no means am I saying that that's not true if you've ever thought some of those things. I've thought a lot of those things over the years, where I felt like my parents, my friends, my family, surrounding extended community wasn't really believing in the bigness of what I wanted. And I felt like they were trying to hold me back, or that their doubt was so heavy and then I had to fight harder, right? I felt like, I feel very fortunate that I've had credit cards to invest in my own healing and my growth and my business, but I have immense anger towards the financial situation and the institutions and the corruption, and I've had a lot of blame towards that, because I personally feel on a soul level that I think these things are meant to be a little bit easier, and I feel like the system is designed to make it hard and to keep people stuck, and that makes me really angry. So I have blamed a lot of my journey on things like that, right? So I'm not dismissing that there are things that are wrong in the world, or inequalities, or external factors that also affect us. But the number one thing that I see blocking people from their purpose and from their biggest mission is the impostor syndrome. The internal disconnect, whether that is not feeling good enough and feeling unworthy, or whether that is the lack of belief and the feeling of, who am I to achieve that? So this is where the invitation comes to reflect if you've ever felt that way. And if you've ever caught yourself maybe dreaming up this bigness and thinking of here's these different ways that I want to create, or I feel inspired to show up and build, and I want to make this impact. But then you have the doubts, the insecurities, the unworthiness, and the imposter syndrome going, but who am I to do that? I'm just a nobody from XYZ country. I'm just one person. There's no way I could achieve something that big. Who am I to think I could do that? I'm a college dropout. I'm stupid. right? We have all these stories, and those are the stories that create imposter syndrome and that create a disconnect. So I'm going to get into in a second, like the best way and what I have found most supportive in shifting this. But I just want to dive into the struggle a tiny bit more in terms of like, it's the separation of the two parts, right? So your dreams, actually, I'll just get into it. Your dreams and your calling and your passion and the things you feel inspired to create, that is a download from source. That is a download from your higher self and your multi-dimensional self, the version of you that exists across all time, space, dimensions, and realities, the version of you that's already achieved the things or that knows the fullness of your potential and the limitless possibility that you come with. And your multi-dimensional self knows exactly what you incarnated for and what your soul's blueprint is. So when you feel a deep calling and a deep pull to something, and for me, I'll even share like years ago when I grew up dreaming about working with elephants, and then when I was 24, I think, is when I took off on a year of solo travel, following my heart, ignoring all the judgment from my community, and going after this and believing full-heartedly that I was going to end up working with elephants. That was like a download from my higher self. That was this deep core soul knowing that this is a part of my blueprint. This is a part of my path. And it's a really important chapter of lessons and growth and embodying and living out one of my biggest dreams, right? Now, we could ignore that and we could think that it's just a dream. And who am I to think that, right? It's not possible. It'll never happen. Or we could see the perspective that this is actually your higher self and the divine creator who knows exactly what you came here for, saying and trying to guide you and trying to pull you into alignment with the bigness. So it doesn't matter if it's something like that, which could seem like my working with elephants could seem kind of small on a grander scale. At the time, that felt like a massive dream to accomplish and to go after, and a really impossible seeming one. Everyone around me said, "You're not qualified. How do you think this is going to work?" Like just speaking their doubt into me. And this is a perfect example of where at the time I kind of blamed them and blamed the outside factors. But I had a really deep connection to my higher self already, and the strength in me knew I'm meant for this. So it doesn't matter what anyone says, I'm trusting my heart and I'm going for it. And I watched as magical synchronicities appeared and the opportunity came and I aligned with it, right? That could be seen as a smaller scale than like the big grand purpose or mission that my soul is here to do over the next however many years that I am still here. But it doesn't matter what the scale of your vision is and what the scale is that you're stepping into. Your higher self knows, and the lower self is where the imposter syndrome resides. So the biggest thing that has helped me over the years is deepening that connection to my higher self, because the imposter syndrome will always exist, right? Even when I went and did these things, then when I wanted to start my coaching business, it was something new. The imposter syndrome was there again. Who am I to have success with this? Who am I to call myself a coach? Who am I to say that I can help people? Who am I to think that I can make a difference? Who am I to believe that I can reach millions of people someday and help as many as possible and like liberate them from their pain and trauma? Who am I to believe that I deserve to work for myself while other people are working at a desk job that they hate? Who am I to work less hours a day and eventually build something where I don't have to be working all day? That's not fair, right? That's this, that's that, all these kinds of mental constructs. And that comes from a disconnect from the full true identity. I hope this is making sense. your lower self is basically the place where all the base level doubts sit, and all your past pain, your traumas sit, and all the fears of fitting in or failure or being judged sit. And so it's this version of you that's not your full truth, and it's not your full capability. And yet majority of people spend their life being ruled by their lower self and being pulled back into this, and then never creating what they're meant for, and never achieving the full desired reality, never making their mark on the world the way their soul was meant to do. So what I found when I started doing quantum healing hypnosis, and when I started really connecting more and more, because I already felt a connection to my higher self, even though I didn't necessarily even know too much about that at the time, but it felt like I'm divinely guided, and there's a part of me, an aspect of me that's saying, hey, you got to go for this. Hey, trust this. Hey, this is exciting to you. Go after that. Don't stay where you feel like you're settling or you're struggling or you're miserable. Trust the calling that you're actually here for more. So there was like this higher self connection without me realizing it or understanding what it was. And then the more I started to do the deeper healing work and the quantum healing and really expanding my awareness of who I am and what I'm here for, everything shifted, and I got to see the bigness, and I got to feel myself expanding across the cosmos and connecting out over the earth and seeing like, wow, there's so many things that I personally feel I'm here to help support or inspire or influence. And for each person, that's going to look so uniquely different because it's based on our own soul's path and our own unique gifts. So the most powerful thing that you can do for yourself if you find yourself struggling in imposter syndrome or stuck in these patterns and you're never achieving what you know you're meant for, or feeling the doubt of like, who am I to go after this? It's better to just, it's not going to work anyway, so I'll just stay here, right? That imposter syndrome that keeps you thinking that you're not capable of it. The best thing to get out of that is to start connecting to the version of you who's already done it. The version of you who's infinitely powerful and capable and knows they're worthy and knows the power that they hold, not from a crazy ego power way, but just from an embodied, whole, grounded, deep knowing that like, this is who I am and this is what I'm here for. So I've worked with many, many really inspiring people who are here to do really big things. And some of them already are doing massive things, but their dreams seem far-fetched or out of reach, or the people around them don't get it. And then that allows them, that influence from the external fuels the imposter syndrome and causes them to feel this internal battle. And when they start shifting and expanding and feeling the bigness and connecting to the higher self, connecting back to your divine soul blueprint, and like realizing that you're just a channel for this expression to move through. You're also a channel for this destined path and this destined impact. So allow it to move through you. Stop questioning if you're good enough, if you're worthy, if you can do it, and allow yourself to just be. Like, we're so deeply supported by a higher power that wants to be moving through us at all times. And we're just kind of the vehicle, right? Like the physical vessel as the source comes through, letting the source guide you. It kind of helps you take that ego, me, like personal identification with the impact and the vision and the mission, helps you take that aside. And then you're like, I'm just channeling source. Like, I'm just being a vessel and a vehicle for this to go through. And right now it feels like I'm meant to launch this business and I'm meant to reach people with this message. Or right now it feels like I'm meant to build something that's never been built before. Or right now it feels like I'm meant to buy that charity or build a charity and create something that the world has never seen. And to my imposter syndrome lower self, or to my ego identity, that might feel really big. That might feel really scary. It might feel impossible. But when I feel connected to source and to my higher self, it feels so resonant. It feels like this is exactly what I'm meant to be doing, and let me just allow the divine to move through me. Let me trust what's coming. Let me allow it to guide the way. So these are all parts of the process that I teach inside Mission, which is one of my quantum healing hypnosis bundles. And it's all about amplifying your impact and stepping into your mission on planet Earth in an even greater way. And it's so beautiful because inside Mission, we're doing this work of connecting to your higher self on a greater level, aligning with source and allowing yourself to be that divine channel, to realize that you don't have to do it all on your own. You are moving source through, you're following the guidance, you're trusting the calling in your heart and soul. There's also a lot with DNA upgrades and genetic shifting, clearing out illusions and distortions and energetic implants and DNA tampering, all these things that have taken place on the planet to keep humanity small and to keep people from realizing their full potential. And when we, again, clear that out and release that, that's all part of the lower self. That's all part of what keeps us trapped in this imposter syndrome, like not knowing who my true identity is. So as we clear that, it makes more and more space for your higher self to come through, for your full expression to come through. This is all part of Mission. The link is in the description down below if you're wanting assistance in this, and if you're wanting the exact activations that have helped me and so many of the amazing people I've worked with over the years. These are not only going to help reprogram your subconscious mind so that a lot of those, illusions and limiting beliefs will be removed and rewritten, but it's also the energetic healing around your energetic field and allowing you to completely shift what you're embodying and the timeline that you are walking on and the timeline that you're creating. So no longer blaming, shame, like pointing the finger, giving power away to external things that you think have held you back, and no longer doubting and giving power away to those internal things that you're saying, oh, this is why it can't happen, or this is why I'm not good enough, this is why I'm not ready yet, right? Those are all the things that we get to clear out and release and reprogram. And the more and more you do that, the more you allow yourself to open up and be that channel, and the more ready you are to receive that, then you can start taking action and building from that place, and it transforms your purpose, your impact, all of it. So the link for that is down below. I would love to support you inside Mission. They're all my favorites, but I think I say this all the time. Mission is probably one of my favorites because I just love the feeling and the deep knowing of how big the impact is of you being you and you honoring what your channel is here for, what your destiny is, honoring the bigness of it, giving yourself permission to step into that and to realize like this is how it gets to be, and releasing the struggle, the stress, all the other things. So I would love to support you in there, and I hope regardless that this helps you create way more awareness around what are you giving power to? Are you blocking and holding yourself back? Where is your own kind of inner imposter showing up and keeping you stuck? And to start doing the work to liberate yourself and allow yourself to be as big, as expressed, as impactful as you're meant for. So I'm sending you so much love. I will see you again soon, and hopefully I'll see you inside Mission.